Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin our session here in a few seconds after everyone's joined the room. So please pardon the awkward silence here for a few minutes till everybody can get in the room.
I think I just sent that message just to you.
Oh.
Hey, Mary. Hello, Minnesota.
Sure, it's cold.
Hey. Hi, Sharon. Vicky O, good to see your name. I don't feel lonely anymore. I know people.
That always makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? Or make it a little bit harder.
Yeah, just increase my stress level. Thank you, Mary.
Well, I'll go ahead and get started with our housekeeping. Hello, everybody. This is Laurie Davin, and I'm the Association Coordinator for NAVTA. And I am pleased to welcome you all to the kickoff session of NAVTA's 2022 Leadership Summit. The summit was created solely to provide information, guidance, and tools to veterinary technicians who are volunteer leaders of vet tech associations and academies. As such, today we won't be talking about anything clinical. Instead, we'll be focusing on 4 critical areas of association management: government relations, governance, member engagement, and generating non-dues revenue. Before we get started, I have just a few housekeeping rules to go over. First, please know that this session is scheduled for 1 hour and is being recorded for later use on NAVTA's YouTube channel. The full summit program, all 4 webinars happening today, have been RACE approved for 4 CE credits. Those who attend all 4 live sessions will be eligible to receive a certificate of completion. NAVTA will send those out by the end of next week. If at any point during the session you need technical assistance, please send me a private message through the chat box. Just click on chat, find my name, and send me a private message. Dr. Weinstein would like to have this as interactive as possible. So if you have a question, try to put the question in the Q&A and keep the chat for chatting with other coworkers or people you may know, because if you have a question in the chat, it will get lost if people start doing a lot of chatting. So again, please feel free to chat and put comments in there that you want to share with people, or to give Dr. Weinstein a virtual applause. Okay, we did that. So I'm going to go ahead and read Dr. Weinstein's bio for us, and then we'll begin our session. So Dr. Peter Weinstein attended Cornell University undergraduate in the University of Illinois to receive his DVM. After graduation, he worked as an associate for 3 years before opening his own practice. As he was running his practice, he identified the need for increased business acumen to make his practice successful. Thus, while managing and practicing full-time, he attended the University of Redlands to receive his MBA. As a result of the MBA, he was able to relocate, expand, and sell his practice to a corporate consolidator. Politically, he served as president of the Southern California Veterinary Medical Association and the California Veterinary Medical Association, and the president for Vet Partners, the National Consultants Association. He just completed 3 years as the chair of the Veterinarian Economic Strategy Committee of the AVMA's Veterinary Economics Division in the Veterinary Division. Whew, that's a long one there. He acted as medical director overseeing the claims department for veterinary pet insurance. Recently, after 14 years, Dr. Weinstein retired from his role as the executive director for the Southern California Veterinary Medical Association to pursue other interests, including teaching at Western University College of Veterinary Medicine. He was the 2018 Speaker of the Year for the Western Veterinary Conference Practice Management Section, and in 2021 for the VMX Practice Management Section. He is co-author with Michael E. Gerber of the E-Myth Veterinarian, Why Most Veterinarian Practices Don't Work and What to Do About It. Welcome, Dr. Weinstein.
Thank you. And thank you to all of my friends and new friends who have joined me, and those of you who have been listening to our podcast as well. This is a fun opportunity for me. I don't get to speak to the association's leadership all that often, and it's a great opportunity for me to tap into my background in organized veterinary medicine. Many of you who know me know that I'm also a huge advocate for the RVTs, the technicians, CVTs, LVTs, whatever acronym we're using. And so this talk for me is going to be a lot of fun because I've lived it in my world in the Southern California Veterinary Medical Association. So engaging members, keeping them engaged. My email address is there. If there are questions that come up after or during, just feel free to send me an email. I'm glad this is being recorded because I do tend to speak fast at times. And if you need to go back on things, that would be great. But what we're talking about when we're trying to lead and work with a group of members is really trying to identify our members and trying to figure out, what do our members look like? And when you try to look at membership in any organization, there's a tremendous amount of diversity and we have diversity in generations. I mean, right now we've got 5 generations working in the veterinary field. And those 5 generations are delivering 5 generations of pet owners. So you've got to, as a leader in an organization, identify all of those different generations. And we know that different generations have different needs as well. We have different genders. We have different levels of education, even within your own organizations. And especially when you start to get large numbers of people, the education levels, the types of education, where they went to school are varied. The level of experience. We probably have people who are watching today with 30, 35, 40 years of experience or more in this field. I started working as a volunteer for a practice in Port Washington, New York in 1973. So I'm pretty vintage. Yes, thank you, Rebecca. But we also have others who may be 1 or 2 years in the profession and still trying to figure out where they fit. So experience varieties. Leadership. Some people are ingrained and born leaders, and others are just learning how to become and develop their leadership skills. So, and also the roles and the perceived roles within a practice vary. Even though you may be a licensed professional, the way you're utilized and the way you're perceived in those practices have tremendous variety as well. So your members are literally a hodgepodge of different people with different needs, looking for different solutions. And not only that, if you're a national organization, you have different locations within the country. If you're a state organization, or a provincial organization, you have different locations within your state or your province. And even if you're just a regional organization, the demographics within your region vary from upper middle class to lower class or whatever the case may be. It's balancing all of these different members and all of the varieties of members that you have and trying to make everybody happy, because here's your challenge. Your job, whether you like it or not, if you're taking a leadership role, if you're involved with a leadership role, your job, and honestly, it's probably the world's toughest job. Your job is to make everybody happy. Wow, sounds like fun, isn't it? Your job is to make everybody happy. But how do you do that? How do you do that when you've got such a unique group of different people? Well, there are 3 steps you need to start with before you can actually even try to figure out how to engage people. And step number 1 is you need to know your audience. So you need to start to collect with the demographic information of new members and also keep your existing members' demographics up to speed. The more you know about your people, the better job you can cater to their needs. Knowing their age or their age range, knowing their education background, all of these different things, whether they're a specialist, a veterinary technician specialist, whether they had a 2-year education or 4-year education, all of these different things, understanding the demographics of your existing members can be very valuable. And that's just the demographic side. That's the tangible side. That's the body of your membership. The other part of the membership is the brain. You need to know the psychographics. What do your people like? What are their interests? What are their values? What are their hobbies? The more you know about the people who are part of your membership, the more engaged you can become with them, and subsequently, the more engaged they can become with you. So to clarify, there's a difference between demographics, which are numbers, and psychographics, which are opinions and thoughts. And the demographics, yeah, you can probably do some simple Q&As on, and simple drop-down menus on surveys, on SurveyMonkey, or whatever the case may be. But when it comes to psychographics, sometimes it's focus groups, and sometimes it's meetings, and sometimes it's just standing in the back of the room and listening to what people have to say, and reading listservs and reading posts and lurking from that standpoint. So understanding the demographics is easy. Wrapping the psychographics around it is a little bit more challenging. And then to add to that, once you know the people, once you know the membership, the third phase is you got to ask some questions. You got to collect some data. To engage with people, you need to know what they want. And you need to ask them, what do you want? And you can ask in specific categories. You don't have to do one big 3-hour survey, but if you did a couple of smaller bite-sized surveys a couple of times throughout the year and ask your members what they want, what do they value? How do they want to be communicated with? Now, I'm going to talk about my background with SCVMA in just a minute, but we had over 2,500 members, and they ranged in age from 18 to 88 or more. Now, so you have to ask what they want, and you have to ask how they want to learn. You have to ask them what they want to learn. Again, some of your members are extremely highly skilled based upon who is sitting in on this presentation today. Some of them could be doing this presentation instead of me. And so I'm amazed by some of the leadership that you have. And then you have some new kids on the block who are still trying to learn their ropes when it comes to the clinical approaches, let alone the leadership approaches. And how they want to learn, well, I have 2 demographic daughters. How they want to learn in about a 3-minute video on their phone, or a YouTube video, or a quick web chat, or whatever the case may be. But the way people learn, some are visual learners, some are auditory learners, some are kinesthetic learners. Some people need to do hands-on stuff to learn before they actually absorb it. And so the more different ways that we can deliver education, the more we can engage with them. Let's see what Nick has to say. We can barely get members to respond to surveys and polls to find out what they want or like or dislike. Well, you know, sometimes, Nick, you have to be, excuse me, Nikki, sometimes you have to be irritating and just constantly nudge them, or pick up the phone and give them a call, or visit with them. I mean, if you really need to get information, sometimes you have to push the comfort levels of your leadership and the comfort levels of your membership. How do they want to be advocated for? Do they just want to send a check from a political action standpoint? If you're doing some advocacy, if you're dealing with a state board, if you're dealing with an association, how aggressive, how can you best represent them? So it's really a question of asking. Nanette notes that our annual CE, they have to complete the survey to get their CE certificate. Absolutely, Nanette, that's what we did to be able to do in our virtual CEs. To get their CE certificate, they had to complete a survey. The more you ask, the more information you get, the better you can communicate and the better you can judge. And you can measure how engaged they are by the number of phone calls you get, by the number of emails you get, by the number of applications that get requested, by the number of website visits. You should probably be judging how many applications you send out and how many applications actually get returned. The Sam notes, or just to get members, veterinarians join their associations, few techs do. See, you're absolutely correct. And I think it's, as speaking as a veterinarian, we are remiss in not paying our technicians' dues in the same way that we are remiss in not paying our young associates' dues. If we want to build strong associations, we as the professional owners, the leadership, and if you're a corporate ownership, should be paying the dues for our technicians. We should be paying the dues for our young associates. So I really would advocate that we need to be leveraging the ownership who can afford to pay your membership dues from that standpoint. Wow, there's some great stuff in the chat. I don't want to get too far behind, but we've got to start to measure how successful we are in our engagement levels by the phone calls, the applications, the websites, and everything else. I am a full advocate in believing that we should be paying your membership dues. But if we pay your membership dues as veterinarians, I want you to become involved and engaged. That would be my ask from a leadership standpoint. If I'm going to help pay my associates' dues, or if I'm going to help pay my technicians' dues, I want you to become involved from that standpoint as well. So, great chat. Let me see if there's anything else. Never assume a person will remember to renew memberships, and in our case, certifications. Yes, you need to be a nudge. Be a professional nudge. All right. And Nationwide, yes, pays dues for your license and one association. Excellent. We need to think about that. And maybe as we start negotiating more and more, and as technicians have more leverage to negotiate, maybe you can negotiate that as part of your benefit package from that standpoint. So what does engagement look like? In an association, engagement varies from association to association. And association engagement, I tried to find a great definition for association engagement. And I found the American Nursing Association membership engagement definition. Member engagement at the American Nursing Association is the investment of time, money, attention, and participation. Time, money, attention, and participation by both the association and its members. So you're measuring it on both sides, the commitment from the association and as a result, the commitment from its members, in order to provide meaningful, emphasize long-term, mutually beneficial. Wow, mutually beneficial. That should be the mission or vision of any association: experience, mutually beneficial experiences and relationships that advance the profession. The role of an association when it comes to engagement is relational, not transactional. Relational, not transactional. Your goal: get your members from womb to tomb, for lack of a better alliteration, to get your members from the time they graduate and become certified to the time they retire, and to keep them even after they retire. So, does your association have its own definition of engagement? Do you have a measure of what you look for that says your association members are engaged? From an SCVMA standpoint, the Southern California VMA, we defined it by attendance at events. We defined it by membership renewals, the number of emails that we got, the questions that we received, the Listserv engagement that went back and forth, and the open rates on emails. We looked at volunteerism for committees and clinics that we ran. There are different ways to measure the engagement of your association. And part of it is, what is the potential membership that you have, and what is the actual membership that you had? In Southern California, we had about 65% of the licensed veterinarians were members of the SCVMA. So we had a very good penetration. Was it 100%? No. Is it hard to get 100%? Absolutely. But of that 65%, we didn't have 100% engagement from all our veterinary members. We probably were putting a 20% of fully engaged members. That meant 20% of our membership were participating regularly in the things that we did. You kind of want to look at that information and see how many passive members that you have, and what can you do to get them more engaged, and what are the real numbers of engaged members. Because when it comes down to it, by engaging or by defining engagement, you define what matters. You're defining what matters to your membership, and you need to know what matters to your membership. So what we have to do is take this information, take the ideas of what engagement looks like for your association, and then figure out what are the opportunities that you have to engage your members. So the SCVMA, we covered Los Angeles and Orange County. For those of you who are in states like New Hampshire, Arkansas, maybe even Minnesota, we probably had a larger population base in 2 counties than you have in your entire state. We had I was executive director for 14 years. We had over 2,500 members, including approximately 500 paraprofessionals, which include RVTs, certified veterinary practice managers, unlicensed assistants, client service, et cetera. So we built an association that focused on team-based healthcare. And it's not every veterinary association that even has a membership category for paraprofessionals, but we felt it's so important to have the team involved with everything, that all of our paraprofessionals were invited to join, and we made it a very affordable price from that standpoint. Rebecca notes, relationships, the foundation of professional organizations, or even the delivery of veterinary medicine. Never underestimate personally inviting and explaining the relationships built and nurtured. Absolutely. So the things I'm going to share with you, may not work for you. You may not have the budget. You may not have the people. You may be the only person who leads in your association. You may not have the time because you're trying to practice and work as well. You may not have the bandwidth. But what I want you to do is just consider everything, because by saying no, you're not giving it an opportunity. So it's really just really important to consider every opportunity from an engagement standpoint. And we start with education. The role that I saw within the local association was not as much advocacy, but on education, local, available education. And every education pre-COVID that we offered was open to any of our members, technicians, managers, assistants, doctors, industry, anybody who was a member of the association could attend any of our continuing education programs. Now, I want to tell you something that we did that may not be doable in every association. But because of the strong relationships we were able to build with our sponsors, we offered over 100 hours of continuing education open to all of our members. We offered over 100 hours of continuing education to our members free. They could attend any of our events, 6 hours on the weekends, 1 hour at night, whatever the case may be. The membership dues in our association included all the CE that we could offer. And all of our CE, whether it was live or virtual, obviously virtual was easy, but live, all of our CE was within an hour drive of any of our members' homes. Now, of course, an hour drive could be 3 miles in Los Angeles, or it could be 60 miles. But all of our members had free CE. And when we started to do more during COVID, the same thing from a virtual standpoint. Licensed technicians got CE credits, veterinarians got CE credits for attending the live events or the virtual events, and they were all for free. We found CE to be a huge member benefit and a huge opportunity for engagement, because the attendance cost to go to one of our CE events for a non-member was essentially the cost of their annual dues. So the membership dues for our technicians, paraprofessionals, was $45 per year. And they got all over 100 hours of CE from that standpoint. So we were able to engage technicians and managers and doctors. And what it allowed is to have an entire team to attend our continuing education programs. So that's just, the education side is a great opportunity for engagement. You have a captive audience. You can ask them questions. You can greet them. You can use them. They're in front of you, whether it's virtual or CE. We used to post some questions that we would discuss before the CE event started, but I found CE to be a huge value add. We also had a monthly magazine. It was a 64-page full color magazine. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody out there could do a monthly magazine, but what it allowed us to do is give education through the magazine as well. And it allowed us to promote all of the different events that we had, and people could read about other members, what members were doing. We highlighted different people, paraprofessionals, et cetera. We also had a monthly e-newsletter that we sent out. All of this, the e-newsletter was done virtually. And so by having this, by having a magazine, by having an e-newsletter, we were constantly reaching out to people, staying in front of people. I think some of I do a lot of talks to marketing to my colleagues in the veterinary field. And it's like, when you touch somebody once and they have to wait 365 days to hear from you, they have every opportunity to go find something better. I really think it's important for associations at all levels to constantly be communicating with their members. Monthly, if you can, quarterly, if you have to, semi-annual. But if an association member doesn't hear from you except once a year with a dues statement, that is a great opportunity for them to say, what's the value proposition for me? You really do need to stay involved with your local association. How did you manage to provide in-person CE within an hour drive of members in SoCal? Did we vary the location? It's a great question, Leanne. We put it in Long Beach, which is an hour from the furthest point south and an hour from the furthest point west and east. So that's on a perfect day. And we did most of our live CE in person on Sundays. We also had regional meetings throughout Los Angeles and Orange County that we had 7 regions that we used for regional meetings as well that helped capture people within a 20 to 30-minute drive. So after work, they could go to a meeting at night. Did you have corporate sponsorship then to be able to afford all of these things, or was based on membership numbers? Corporate sponsorship covered all of our CE. Virtually all the costs for all of our CE programs were covered by corporate sponsorship. So our membership dues, and you'll see this in the second section on non-dues income, our membership dues pretty much covered operational costs and office costs, but advertising and corporate sponsorship covered everything else. Peter, can you speak to the value of hiring staff even for a state VTA or academy? I can't speak highly enough about not trying to do everything on your own. Even if you had a part-time 10-hour-a-week employee to do some of this outreach, to do the clerical work, and I talk about this to my colleagues as veterinarians, do what you do best and hire the rest. What you do best is probably advocate for the technician profession. What you don't necessarily do best is put together surveys, put together emails. But if you can hire somebody 10 hours a week or even 10 hours a month to do some of the clerical type stuff that's not necessarily in your wheelhouse, I think you will be better off and you will be much more able to focus from that standpoint. What do you recommend for those who hold free CE meetings and have very low attendance still? If you're still having low attendance problems, okay, I held one last year in a largely populated, centrally located area of Arkansas, and only 3 people show up. If you were holding live CE during COVID, I wouldn't take that as anything more than we're still dealing with a certain level of fear factor. Okay, we've started to do more, and we've started to taste test, for lack of a better way to put it, some live CE. And we're still not getting the numbers that we had in the past. There's still a lot of anxiety going out and about people attending live CE. I just came back from Orlando, which had probably 2/3 of what they've had. It was a little bit better than June of last year when they had it. I think there's still some angst from that standpoint. But our virtual CE, lunch and learns, once a week, usually Monday or Tuesday at 12:30, we'd get anywhere from 80 to 200 people. So we were able to make money using virtual CE as well. And we engaged people, and we engaged new people who wouldn't necessarily be willing to or able to go to some of those events. So Caitlin, don't be disheartened by the fact that you had poor attendance during live CE, but look at how you can pivot. God, I hate that word. Look at how you can change to potentially come up with virtual CE. And what's interesting about virtual CE is we had almost 100% net when we did our virtual CE, because our costs were so low from that standpoint. When we did live CE, most of it was a break even because the sponsor paid for everything. But when it came down to virtual CE, we were actually making money from that standpoint. Good questions. Let me keep moving because I will get even further behind if I don't. We had a listserv, all sorts of opportunities to discuss issues on a listserv. There are some lower cost listservs. Many of them do come with a cost if you get more and more elaborate. There's a great comment from Mary about state CE and virtual CE. Many of the states have loosened up some of the virtual CE certifications. So check your state licensing for what they will do. Our website was also built to be very engaging and very easy to navigate. If you don't have a website, and especially when you're looking at millennials, you need a website, you need a listserv, you need an app, something where younger technicians can engage in a platform, a Facebook page, an Instagram group, whatever it is, but something that the younger millennials can engage with from that standpoint. Keeping going. Committees and task forces. Now, here's where you get pushback, because it's like, you mean I got to work for the association? But there are some really great members of your associations who want to be part of the engagement and part of the committees and part of the task forces. So part of this collection of demographics and psychographics is, what are your special interests? Maybe you have some members who want to help with continuing education and they want to be a continuing education committee. Maybe they want to have a task force on unlicensed activity. So committees and task forces are given opportunity for your members to have a voice in the activities of your association. Task forces are short-term. Basically, they have a finite period. Committees tend to be longer term, and they have to be usually in many bylaws. So I think you want to take a look and see where people's interests are. So you might even ask your members as part of your psychographics, demographics, what is their interest? What's a listserv? Okay, a listserv is a community. A listserv is an online community that allows you to communicate through a portal where people can log in, and it's a private portal, and share information and ideas and answers to questions and problem solving and things of that nature. So a good question. I'm sorry, I should have called it a community. We called it a community as well. It's a message board. Thank you, Jessica. So it allows you to post questions and problems. How would you handle this? I'm dealing with this. And you can actually, in our listserv, post things anonymously from that standpoint. So I'm just curious, and we can use the chat for this. What are some of you guys doing at the national level or the local level? And I'm sorry, I used CARFTA as the local association, but what are some of you guys doing, and from an engagement standpoint within your local associations? Just pop some things in the chat that you're doing from the local association standpoint, or what's NAVTA doing from that standpoint. Quarterly newsletter, good. I think, Mary, if you can do a quarterly newsletter, just staying in front of your members is huge. It's extremely important to stay in front. Newsletters, social media, Zoom happy hours, like the Zoom happy hours. We did town halls, free student memberships, great. We did that as well. Student focus groups, excellent. Facebook page, emails. A lot of CE, free CE, social media, Facebook, excellent. Excellent. So those of you who are in some of the smaller associations, take a look at some of these industry partnerships, career nights, job fairs, weekly emails. Excellent. There's some great ideas in the chat that people should be capturing and taking a look at. VTNE preparation, excellent. So think about some of the things that maybe that some of the other associations have noted, and which ones can you in your association bring to the fore? Free student memberships, career coaching, excellent. Yearly meetings with techs from different areas in the state, outstanding. Bi-monthly newsletters, lots of Facebook posts. Proposed law got 7,000 views and almost 2,000. High five, Carrie Brubeck from 2,000 miles away. Outstanding. So what else did we do to engage our members? We had a welcome email. Every new member got an email from our membership secretary. We sent a welcome gift. Well, you know what we sent as a welcome gift during COVID? A personalized, customized SCVMA mask. I wish I had one. I'm looking to see if I have one. No, I don't. An SCVMA mask we sent out. All of our new members got a phone call from one of our board members. So we assigned our different board members a new member to call based upon where they were within Southern California. So they felt important from that standpoint. We also mentioned them in the monthly newsletter. So we wanted our new members to feel welcome and engaged and a part of the association right from the get-go. And they became involved with the the listserv immediately or the community membership board immediately so they can become a part of it. So think about, do you send a welcome letter or email? What about a phone call? And again, if you had an assistant, they could make the phone call as well, just welcoming them. The personal touch is huge. And we also made sure we send thank yous for referrals. And so if an owner veterinarian paid for a new member, we would send them a thank you from that standpoint. And then we had we frequently had new member orientations, which was it used to be a mandated live event. Well, that doesn't work. So we had a quick town hall new member orientation just to talk about some of the different things that we had. The personal touch, letting people know that they're a name and not a number, goes a long way. You can even try to assign buddies. So if there's somebody nearby that's on your board or in a leadership role to a new technician, make them a buddy. What you're trying to do is personalize this experience. Websites, apps, new member mentions, all of these things make people feel welcome. And you know, when you go to the dentist and they have a sign on the wall that welcomes their new dental clients, it goes a long way to have in your newsletter, welcome our new technician member clients from that standpoint. The welcome gift doesn't have to be expensive. We looked at a variety of different things. There's some stuff on Amazon that's at $12 or $15 with free postage. The mentorship programs are tough. First of all, defining mentorship becomes a problem, but many of your leadership board can just start by making a phone call and just checking in or sending an email, getting a cell phone number so you can do texts. Sometimes you need to do an orientation on the website if it's a bit complex, if you've got one. We tried to do some orientation to our staff. We had 3 staff members and we wanted our members to know who was in charge of bookkeeping and who was in charge of membership. And then for those who are interested in advocacy, such as political action committees, we had an advocacy orientation. And all of our members, and especially when we were doing virtual board meetings, all of our members were invited to any board meeting and any committee meeting that they wanted to. And if they wanted to become involved, we had an orientation for the board and an orientation for the committee. And as I said, not all of these are going to work and not all of these are easy, but what you're trying to do is get them engaged, get your talons into them and not let go. Mentorship would be great. And I think, unfortunately, we sometimes ask our boards to do a lot, but from a mentoring standpoint, the board becomes a very, very important part of being a mentor, especially to new board members as well. So here's a great graphic. And it's a very simple graphic that basically talks about when it comes to membership, first of all, creating awareness. Second of all, working for commitment. And then finally asking for participation. So under awareness, it talks about some of these emails, you know, the welcome emails, or how about a thank you for renewing email. We had when we did our welcome gift, we included a couple of pages of welcome to the association and what our member benefits were. You know, getting people involved with the website and the personal website and the listserv. And then further invitations to check into the social media side of things as well. Making sure that new members are invited to your events. Making sure that the new members know about your social media side of things. You know, it would be interesting to look at this from a national or even regional standpoint, to just look at how everybody can help one another when it comes to mentoring, because maybe some areas are stronger than others when it comes to some of the skill sets, and how can the national association or even state associations help facilitate the regional associations in dealing with some of the issues that are being brought forth. Let's see, question came up. Can we get a copy of the presentation for our notes? Yes, you may. I'll make sure that my email, let me pop my email into the chat right now while I'm thinking about it. If you want a copy of the presentation. Sorry. Peter Weinstein, dvmmba@gmail.com, if I spelt everything correctly. All right. My first name, my last name, dvmmba@gmail.com. Yes, feel free to request a copy of the presentation. Do you do anything different for new members that are new graduate from out of state that moved in? Yeah, the new members who moved in from out of state definitely need to have that hook up with a board member or somebody else so that they can become engaged, because they don't know the area. They don't know the people. They may not know what traffic is like in Los Angeles. And so by reaching out, and especially for those people who are coming in from out of state, it goes a long way to helping them feel part of it. Linda talks, what is meant by membership can be problematic. Yeah, the definition of mentorship is all over the place. And I really do think it would be very cool, and I'm negligent from this standpoint, but it would be really cool to create a mentorship, an RVT, LVT, CVT licensed technician mentorship program that all the associations, the technician associations could use. And it could be very simple, but it might be a task force that NAVTA creates. Sorry to throw some more work on NAVTA, but it would be interesting to create a NAVTA task force on mentorship that could provide a mentorship workbook or video or whatever to be used by all the local and state associations. Yes, and so Kathy, I addressed your question about out of state, copy the presentation. Let me get out of there. Okay, moving right along. Mentorship. We could do an entire talk on mentorship and still not be able to define it. Okay, so when it comes to engagement, it's how do you go from the few to the many? And let me address one other thing that didn't really come up in the slide set. When it comes to dues, one of the first things I did when I took over the SCVMA is I went from a once a year dues payment. Everything was, annual renewal was January 1, to a time of registration 12-month calendar. And what that did is, first of all, we didn't have to calculate a prorated dues, but what it also did is it started to move income throughout the year and not all coming in the last month or two from that standpoint. It also means that we are constantly recruiting, because what we found is that people didn't want to sign up until they would get 12 months of membership. And it was really hard for them to rationalize signing up in June when then have to renew again in December. So we went to you sign up and that's your renewal date. So think about doing some things like that and being ongoing recruiting from that standpoint. Look, Kathy asks, what's the benefit from having a membership card? Hey, here's the thought. Why have a hard card? Why not have a virtual card that could be in their wallet on their phone? Like I have my credit cards or my American Airlines card or something like that. What do you think about trying to create those types of virtual badges? There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We, keeping those cards up to date and stuff like that, but there are all sorts of different ways to do virtual cards as well. Good stuff. And by the way, cards give people a feeling of membership. And so it's from that standpoint. So the goal from engagement is to go from the few to the many. And it's all about this. One of the things that I prided myself on one of the things I prided myself on was my ability to know people's names at meetings. And I would strongly advocate that the board, the leadership, the directors of your associations know your members' names, know something about them, learn about them, and make your association members feel like they are part of your family. By knowing people's names, they felt so much more comfortable engaging with me. And we took them from participation of just going to meetings to relationships. Your role is to get your members to think of this as a relationship, that you're the person to go to from a relationship standpoint, to be a partner, not just a provider of benefits. Yes, the benefits get people in, the relationships keep them coming. This is interesting. Survey. Lack of engagement is the most commonly cited reason for membership non-renewal. So if your members don't feel the value that you're providing, they will not renew. They have to get a value proposition out of it. So the question is, do your members connect what your association does with what is important to them? If they're just participating, they aren't engaged. But if they're connected, they're raving fans. If they're participating but aren't engaged, they come and they leave. If they are a loyal member and raving fans, they become your advocates from that standpoint. So members go to programs, members renew membership, members buy stuff, members are on committees, members attend board meetings. If your association is providing an in-body experience, that's great. It's a start. But this is where you need to go. Your association needs to be indispensable. You need to create that personal feel. That's why cards or something with their name on it has a true value proposition. I would bet that most of your hospitals don't provide you with a business card. In fact, I ask how many of your associations have how many of your associations do you have a business card? If you're the president of CARFTA, the California RVTA, or even NAVTA, do you have your own business card? From that standpoint. So think about it and think about how valuable it is from that standpoint. Any suggestions of what to do with a dysfunctional board and previously engaged members, committee chairs choosing to resign? Yeah, it's a little bit too heavy. Let's hold that question. We'll see if we can get to it at the end. Identify mutual interests. Identify the relationships. Build relationships. See the world through your members' eyes. See, the interesting thing is all of you, just like all of me, I was a member of the association that I became an executive director of. So I built an association to deliver to my members what I would want. I built an association to deliver to my members what I wanted if I were a member. So I could very easily see the veterinary world through the members' eyes because I had been in their shoes, in their practices, in their pain points. So start to think about things as if you were leading and creating an association that was perfect for you. And you'd be surprised how much the rest of your members appreciate the fact that you're thinking about them because you're thinking about you as well. This concept of community, bringing people together, communications, town halls, you can do all of this virtually. It's all about value. It's all about being top of mind. And if somebody has a question that's technician related, you want to be the go-to person from that standpoint. And yes, QR code business cards, I love it. I have one. It's wonderful. It's one business card that you can get scanned on your phone. It actually, in my case, it taps the phone and it comes up as well. Be the go-to organization. Be the go-to organization. All right, we're getting close to the end here. Do your members see your membership strictly as a sales transaction? Do they only see you once a year as an invoice? You need to ask yourself, do you provide value, and what value do you provide? What is your value proposition? What is it that you're offering to your membership? Do you really know your members? Do you know their passions, their needs? Do you communicate those needs? What do you expect out of the association? What most members look for is a CE. Great. Communicate those needs. Offer solutions to member needs. But you sometimes have to ask. CE may be part of it because of obviously of required mandatory CE, but are there other things? What about they need scrubs and they can't get them at a discount or something like that? This could be non-dues revenue discussion later. Certification, excellent. Think about potential members' needs. Now, what are some of the issues globally that impact licensed technicians? What are some of the discussions going on about licensed technicians that are going on the national level? Are you sharing those on a statewide and a regional basis as well? Are you seeking input? Are you trying to collect your members' thoughts to have a voice from that standpoint? And then you need to start to think about problems, because everybody wants to do some things that might take away your responsibility, that might take away the strength of your license. What are some of the problems that you can see out there that could impact your ability to deliver as a practicing technician? California, we've been dealing with unlicensed activity with physical therapists and chiropractors and others. What are some of the things that might impact your ability from a licensing standpoint? Do you see them regionally? Do you see them statewide? And how do you create a national advocacy to address these potential problems? And how do you prevent them from going forward? Way too often, we don't help our members realize the issues that are out there that will impact their livelihood. I think it's extremely important for association leadership to be in front of these issues, share them with them, and start to stir the hornet's nest. And you got to do so by listening to what the needs are. Change. You need to change. You can't keep doing it the way you're doing it. You need to keep people up to date. You need to learn what others are doing and model off of some of the other associations from that standpoint. Think about reinventing your association. And this goes to a degree to the comments about a board that's not engaged. You know, you might need to re-engage. You might need to create a job description. We've had to fire board members that were non-performing from that standpoint. And you need to know your why. Your why is your passion, your vision, your direction. The why that why your association operates from that standpoint. You need to know your why. If you want to go from disengaged to fully engaged, you need to listen, change, update, learn from other associations, both the technician level and others, and know your why. Because when you do build your enhanced engagement, you'll get more members, you'll get word of mouth members, you'll get more active members, you'll get more people on committees, more people seeking leadership positions, your profitability will go up, your sustainability goes up, and the more people you have, the stronger voice you have, the more power you have when it comes down to influencing the profession around you. More members, more engagement, more power. So let's start bringing it home. Engagement, ongoing interaction between a member and an organization for meaningful value. More programs, better programs, more excited. You want to create that level of contagiousness. Maybe I shouldn't use contagiousness in the current COVID world, but you're trying to build contagiousness. You're trying to help have others build the excitement level for you, because your engaged members will continue to renew, and then they will help your membership by word of mouth. If your active members, your engaged members had a competition, we actually did this. We had a competition for who could get the most new members to attend CE or most new members to sign up. And it was a lot of fun from that standpoint. And then recognize that engaged members are your raving fans. So here are some action items. Define your why, your purpose. Define the engagement level. What does engagement mean for your association? Identify what truly matters for your members. Ask them. Ask them. Review your current plan. By the way, most associations don't have an engagement plan, so you may want to create one. And now look for new opportunities for engagement. What are they going to be? Are they some of the stuff we've talked about here, or maybe some of the stuff that's been posted in the chat? And then just go for it. You're going to make mistakes. It's not all going to be perfect, but try things differently. Engagement's loyalty. Economic loyalty is when your members feel like they have to stay. Emotional loyalty is when a customer or a member wants to stay. So where should your focus be? To deepen your engagement, do you want to focus on their head? In other words, an economic engagement, or focus on their heart? That's where you want to be. Focus on your heart of your memberships and build those relationships. There's my email address again. If you'd like a copy of the slide set, I will be more than happy to share that with you. The question regarding, I know you've got to take a break, but I just want to quickly address this question about, let me put my email back up there for just a second. Dysfunctional board. I think sometimes you need to do some strategic planning. I think you really do need to take a step back and take a look at what your board needs, what the true job description of a board member is. And you may start to have to build a new board and a new approach to the board from that standpoint. So we're going to take a break for 30 minutes. I'll be back in 30 minutes. If you've got some additional questions, hold them. I'll come back again at 12:30. I'll stick around. Lori, you tell me what I need to do. So.
No, yes, thank you, Dr. Weinstein. This was incredibly helpful session. I wrote down a whole bunch of things, and I was texting my other coworker about some things that we should do for NAVTA. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us. And yes, it'll be a half-hour break. If you're registered for the last session, it starts at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. He's in California where it's sunny, so I'm on the East Coast. But the next session is going to be titled Valuable Non-Dues Revenue Programs. So if you don't have your Zoom link, email me. Most everyone should have my email, but I think I've been trying to keep up on it for people. So we will see if there's any more questions. It looks like there's one question in the Q&A. I don't know if you answered that one.
Well, that was the one about the dysfunctional
board. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's an entire hour about board governance from that standpoint. Honestly, as a consultant, I used to go into hospitals, and the best thing I could have done is fired the owner. As an executive director, some things the best thing you can do is fire your board. And some things the best thing you can do, off the record, you didn't hear this from me, stop the recording, I'm kidding, but sometimes the best thing you can do is help to cherry pick the future board, because then you can get a functional board, because sometimes many boards are just a good old person's club.